I'm just going to speak here as a fan real quick. I don't expect this to happen. I think that NASCAR is very happy with the schedule that they have for next year and the plans that they have for the next couple of seasons. But I've got to tell you guys, I think the novelty of the Roval for me has not only started to wear off a little bit, it kind of wore off a long time ago. I was very excited when this race was first introduced in 2018 because I think we had some great races at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Fans were begging for more road course races, and NASCAR was kind of in this box where they still had contracts in with the existing tracks and races that they were going to. The best they could do at the time was take one of their mile and a halves, because again, I think the mile and a halves were a little bit oversaturated. They took a mile and a half date of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, converted it to the best thing, the closest thing to a road course that they could with this Roval layout. And again, I think in 2018, it was a big hit. 2019, 2020, other years, we've had some controversial finishes there. Not that we didn't in 2018 with Johnson and Truex as well, but I think people in many respects have gotten a little bit tired of the chaos and controversy. So again, happy that we got a straightforward finish today at the very least. But I don't know. I just think with the next gen car being so good on the intermediates, it's really the opposite problem that we had in the Gen 6 era, where we weren't getting very good racing on the intermediates, but when it was more in the driver's hands on the short tracks and the road courses, those races tended to be quite a bit more exciting and entertaining. Now we kind of have the opposite problem. The car doesn't race very well on short tracks, doesn't race as well on road courses. Maybe it's a little bit better than it was when the car was first introduced in 2022. But at the same time, I think the racing on intermediates is so good right now that I would not be opposed, and especially now that we have more natural road courses and even a street circuit on the schedule, would not be opposed to dropping this Roval race and going to a second oval race at Charlotte. And I say that as somebody who, if you watch the show, you maybe have heard me share this opinion before. I think the Cup Series schedule is a little bit too long as it is. I would like to see it down to somewhere between 28 to 32 races, and also 28 to 32 unique tracks. I think if you had to make an exception, you could say the summer race in Daytona, the Firecracker 400, as it were, has just as much history in many respects as the Daytona 500 or his other crown jewels of the sport. So maybe Daytona could get away with having 2 dates, and maybe Charlotte could get away with having 2 dates, being that it is the backyard for many of these, almost all of these Cup Series teams based in North Carolina. But again, even as somebody that holds true to that philosophy, at this point, given the style of racing that we're seeing with next-gen car here, I think it might be time to consider closing the book on the Roval, so to speak, leaving that in the past and going back to the oval layout for the fall race here. If we're going to keep the playoff system, again, obviously I'm not a huge fan of that either, but I do like that there is a road course in the playoffs to diversify that schedule a little bit. So I'm sure, we could work something out and get another road course in there as well to make up for that, like we had with Watkins Glen this year, for example. But at the same time, I think that, with how well this car is racing on the intermediates, might be worth considering for 2026 and into the future to maybe go back to an oval date here for the Charlotte Roval. But nonetheless, I think a solid race today. Lots of highlights to point out here. And again, above all, just want to reiterate what I started the segment with. Thank goodness we got a clean finish to this race. Straightforward with Kyle Larson taking the win here.